Purposely. Your life, God's purpose. Listen at purposely.com.
What can happen in 40 days? Actually, quite a bit. Hey, it's Jen. This is the Bible for Busy People. And this week we are going over 40 days with God, what that looked like at different times for different people in the Bible, and why 40, the number 40, was so significant. Right now is the traditional season of Lent, which is a time of preparing our hearts to remember Jesus' death on the cross and resurrection. It's 40 days leading up to Easter Sunday, and that's in reflection of Jesus going into the wilderness with the Holy Spirit after he was baptized, and he was eventually tempted by the devil there. Now, the number 40 is super significant in the Bible. It comes up again and again. It's often a period of time when someone or a group of people go through a time of testing or discipline. Now, today we're going to talk about a period of 40 days where it did not stop raining. And you probably already know what I'm talking about. We are going to read about Noah today. So in Genesis 6, verses 5 to 8, and I'm reading in the Christian Standard Version, it says, "When the Lord saw that human wickedness was widespread on the earth, and that every inclination of the human mind was nothing but evil all the time, the Lord regretted that he had made man on earth, and he was deeply grieved. Then the Lord said, I will wipe mankind, whom I created, off the face of the earth, together with the animals, creatures that crawl, and birds of the sky, for I regret that I made them. Noah, however, found favor with the Lord." So we see God instructing Noah at this point to build an ark of gopher wood. In Genesis 7, 11 through 17, it says, "In the 600th year of Noah's life, 600th, in the second month, on the 17th day of the month, on that day all the sources of the vast watery depths burst open, the floodgates of the sky were opened, and the rain fell on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. On that same day, Noah and his 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, entered the ark, along with Noah's wife and his 3 sons' wives. 2 of every creature that has the breath of life in it came to Noah and entered the ark." Genesis 8 verse 1 says, "God remembered Noah as well as all the wildlife and all the livestock that were with him in the ark. God caused a wind to pass over the earth and the water began to subside. The sources of the watery depths and the floodgates of the sky were closed and the rain from the sky stopped. The water steadily receded from the earth, and by the end of 150 days, the water had decreased significantly." So it says later on that the water continues to recede, and it says in verse 6, "After 40 days, Noah opened the window of the ark that he had made, and he sent out a raven. It went back and forth until the water had dried up from the earth." And he does this a couple different times, once with a dove. That's probably the most memorable bird that people reference when they talk about Noah's story. And then later in verse 15, it says, "God spoke to Noah, 'Come out of the ark, you, your wife, your sons, and your sons' wives with you. Bring out all the living creatures that are with you, birds, livestock, those that crawl on the earth, and they will spread over the earth and be fruitful and multiply on the earth.' So Noah, along with his sons, his wife, and his sons' wives, came out. All the animals, all the creatures that crawl, and all the flying creatures, everything that moves on the earth, came out of the ark by their families. Then Noah built an altar to the Lord. He took some of every kind of clean animal and every kind of clean bird and offered burnt offerings on the altar. When the Lord smelled the pleasing aroma, he said to himself, 'I will never again curse the ground because of human beings, even though the inclination of the human heart is evil from youth onward. And I will never again strike down every living thing as I have done. As long as the earth endures, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, and day and night will not cease.'" So I noticed that at the beginning, when God gave instructions, and he gave pretty detailed instructions, he did not give a timeline. So nobody knew, Noah did not know, his family did not know how long it would rain, how far the boat would go, and what things would look like afterwards. See, God doesn't tend to give all the details when he asks you to go on faith. What is faith if you can see the outcome, right? Sometimes all that you know in the moment is that you can't go with the alternative. Noah knew what was going to happen to the people, and he had to trust that God's plan was the best way, and he had to make an ark. Now, I do think it's important. I think it's important to consider the question, why did everyone and everything on earth have to die? I don't want to brush past that. That's one of the parts of the Bible where it's like, but why, God? I don't understand. Why did innocent people have to die? And there's a lot of ways I think that you can explain that. He had said on every person's heart there was evil inclination. We have to trust that God made the decision that he did, but I think he was sorrowful about it, and I think it was a great loss. And I also found from the Bible Project just that they had made this strong case for this story being the opposite of the creation story. And I'm going to put that link in the show notes if you want to hear it, because I found that to be a really interesting link and connection. But there's so many things that we don't understand why in the Bible, and I don't want to brush past those hard questions. It's important to ask them. I had another question too. I wondered what it was like for Noah to spend the days contemplating a fresh start on earth. I wonder if Noah mourned some of what he left behind. Maybe he did have family that didn't join him. Who knows, right? It's interesting to think about these questions and not to let them go unasked. God welcomes our questions. So the last thing that I would consider here is that later in the Bible, in 1 Peter 3, there's another link that's made. It talks about how the story of the ark corresponds with baptism, a purification and a fresh start. And if you think back to what we just spoke about at the beginning of this episode, 40 days transformation happens there. Fresh starts happen there. And so I thought that was an interesting connection as well. What can happen in 40 days? Setting a period of discipline, of maybe fasting from something, of really taking the time to focus on God and blocking out some of the noise. It's such a great way to help you focus on God and rely on him. And I'm wondering what that might look like for you. Maybe it doesn't look like 40 days. Maybe it looks like a week. Maybe you resolve to pray first thing in the morning before you check your phone, or you listen to only worship music for 40 days. I feel like that would be a commitment we could keep. Or avoiding screens for a week or a day even. Maybe fasting from a particular food or a beverage that you enjoy. What might it look like for you to do that? And what could happen in 40 days in your relationship with God if you do? Thanks for chatting with me. We'll talk tomorrow about another example of a 40-day period in the Bible.
Thank you for listening to The Bible for Busy People. If you need prayer or want to go deeper in your faith, visit our show notes. Will you take a moment to share with a friend and leave a review? It helps the Bible get into even more people's minds and hearts. Find more podcasts that will recharge you at purposely.com.